how your perception of time influences you. I welcome you, and thank you for your interest. Za'el here. At the beginning of the life of this channel, I started talking about my idea of how time works, and how it influences or divides into all those branches that shape what we call reality. How time can transform or end up flowing into so many other subjects, being necessary to understand how everything works on a deeper level. Today I recommend you to watch these 3 videos on time, in order to understand more easily the ideas I would like to propose to you today. I'll start by asking you to do the exercise of remembering to look for several people in your life who are around the same age. It should be simple. To know how old someone is, technically you just have to count how many years have passed since their birth, thinking of course from our linear perception of things. Isn't that right? Now, many of you listening to me, if you are observant, may realize that you know several people of similar age who look much younger, or much older, than each other. It may even happen that several people of very different ages look very similar in age. Why is this? Of course, and starting with the most basic and what we will all be thinking about, there is always the important component of good or bad health care. Exposure to constant stress, to bad habits, to all those things that the Earth Matrix encourages that are known to be really harmful. These are all important factors, and of course, they must be taken care of. You could also argue that there is an important genetic factor which strongly conditions the health and appearance of each person. But is that really all that makes these differences? If you know of any of these cases where the technical and linear age does not seem to match the appearance of the person, you can probably also observe that, in most of these cases, you will find in them an attitude that goes along with their appearance. A person immersed in highly deterministic ideas might say that it is easier to have a jovial and energetic attitude when you are in better health, and that your health is inversely proportional to the number of years you have been alive. So much so, that I'm sure someone listening to this video can only think something like, "You'll tell me when you get to my age." But the fact is that, despite the fact that agreements are always there to annoy us and create rules for our reality, it is ultimately the exact opposite situation. It is the ideas, the behaviors, your own perception, that end up influencing to a greater or lesser extent such important aspects as your physical health. This is something, moreover, that I am not discovering to anyone as information from outside the Earth. Numerous studies there, though often ignored, have already amply demonstrated this phenomenon. The real power your mind possesses, not just over the reality around you, but over something much more basic and personal. Your body. As Marie recently expressed in one of her videos, words can basically be considered spells. Also on this channel we already talked about the importance of words, verbalized or not. And just as I quoted in that video the certain and famous words expressed in a well-known movie saga, words are our most inexhaustible source of magic. They are capable of inflicting the greatest damage, and of remedying it. And that's basically what a lot of our thoughts are, if that's the way you want to look at them. They are messages that we often express to describe reality, about ourselves and our environment. That is why it is so important to observe with some discipline our thoughts and ideas about the world, and especially about ourselves. Many of these studies, which are not so difficult to find considering how so many things are hidden there, explain the clear influence of the subject's thoughts on their results, whether in facing a challenge or curing themselves of some kind of illness. In some cases, even provoking the illness by means of a negative placebo, and absolutely nothing more than that. Now, take that knowledge, that concept, one level further. A level where you simply live. You live and continue to live, facing the difficulties of life, learning, doing the things that make you happy, that make you laugh, that make you feel good. And also mourning the sadness that may eventually come your way. But life goes on, as a matter of course. Why should you count how many times you have circled the sun to determine how you should feel? Determining how you should act after a certain number of laps. How you should stop acting when you have gone around number 9 or 29. What goals you should have already achieved, now that you have gone around 41 times. What you shouldn't do because you are too childish, because you already have 16 or 64 laps. Or that it's strange that sometimes you can behave like an adult with only 12 laps. I ask you a rather stupid question. When you run a race, do you also behave differently with every lap you complete? Do you change your personality and your goals? It's completely natural that the circumstances we live through in a linear way shape and change us over time. But it depends on how you process these events and the meaning you attribute to them, how much they will influence you. Let your own path transform you naturally, through your own experiences and your own learning. And unfortunately, yes, so do traumas. But you don't have to rely on how many years you've been alive to know what you should do or not do, and how you should start thinking, because all those ideas will inevitably also be reflected in the world you live in, and in yourself more than anything else. Besides, you don't even have that time you think you have. You are a consciousness whose attention is jumping from one place to another. Only your memories give you the illusion of being a certain age. Technically, you are not even old to begin with. You don't even have time. Or tell me, how much time does the source have? To all this we could add a factor that would make everything even more complicated. And that is that we talk about all those experiences that in a linear way we experience in an incarnation, they shape us and change us little by little, and sometimes abruptly. But what if a person were to perceive time in a non-linear way, in addition to knowing all of the above? Knowing themselves to be eternal and immortal really, and feeling comfortable in their avatar, or rather, in one of them, like one of those cartoon characters who never grows up, who is always the same age, or whose age is not even mentioned. Because it is not important. What is important is the experience that this character gives the viewer. With their more childish and more immature moments, and the moments in which they bring out their great intelligence and maturity, shining at both extremes equally. What would happen if, even from your own perception, you didn't see things in a linear way? As in a dream, where past, present and future are fused, and you can access any circumstance whenever you want. Could you consider yourself part of the world of the living? What defines the world of the living? Is it linear experience, or is there really no difference other than your own ideas? In any case, and down a few levels again. Hi, I'm here again, I've gone too far up, sorry. Within your own linear experience, with all those experiences and the learnings they have left you with all their joys and their scars, my advice is to never lose the child you have always been. Remember that, because you are still the same person, who has been through so much that sometimes it is easy to forget. Laugh, play, joke, move, be yourself. And shine with all that energy that still exists in you and that you can always find again. And, when necessary, use all your wisdom and experience from this and other lives that, believe it or not, you still have when necessary. Of course, there will be many, many people who will not understand your attitude. Sometimes it can happen even here, so you can imagine in that world full of limiting ideas everywhere you look. But there will be those who end up understanding you, who will end up understanding how you are and how you move through life. And surely, many will admire your strength and your good energy. Cheer up. I smile as I write these words, and I want you to smile as you receive them. With love, Za'el.